Welcome to Goldfish on Games, where it turns out babies are actually quite useful. Well, if they happen to have a massive great big club and can save their father. Chuck Rock 2 Son of Chuck was developed by Core Design and released in 1993, with it initially coming out for the Amiga, which is the version I played. This was squashed to fit in just a couple of floppy disks. Over the years I've also managed to pick up copies for the Master System as well as the Mega CD. But it also hit the MegaDrive, Game Gear as well as the CD32, and yes, those CD releases included a nicely done cartoon intro.
Welcome gamesters to Chuck Rock 2 Son of Chuck. You'll remember that in our last exciting adventure, Chuck Rock defeated the evil Gary Gritter and his despicable dinosaur. Blissfully unaware of her husband's predicament, Ophelia received the ransom demand. She was understandably upset. But all is not lost, for Junior is a chip off the old block after all. And so, with the words goo goo gaga, which mean I'll be back with my dad, Chuck Jr. sets off to rescue his father from the clutches of the despicable Brick Jagger in Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck.
The gameplay mostly consists of going from left to right to make it to the exit, with the odd boss and minigame thrown in here and there. So it's not going to win any awards for originality, but it does play really well. There is a real weight behind that club throw, so Junior can really clobber anything that gets into his way. And that club is your only means of attack as well as defense. There's no jumping on enemies' heads in this one. It will also help you interact with the environment, like knocking rocks, breaking walls, opening fire hydrants, or even taking out spawn points. When you really need to get out of the way of something that's barreling down on you, you can balance on it to get a little height. He is a little guy after all. All of this is not to say the game doesn't do anything interesting on you, as it has a few moments that help to shake up the game, with you barely starting the first level where this giant monster tries to stomp on you. Later on you have to take a ride on this large bird to avoid being drowned. And while the game doesn't have any power-ups for young Chuck, he does have a number of animal buddies to help him out. Some of these you get to directly control, which allows you to move around faster, as well as take some damage before you get knocked off. Where some of the others you have to actually trick them into helping you. Those damn monkeys really do like their bananas. Others, well, you more or less force them to help you. Ouch, hot foot. These exist across all versions of the game, and they are actually quite interesting to check out, as they're not the straight ports you'd might expect. The MegaDrive version, or Genesis if you prefer, can be seen as almost like a redux, as it got more time for its development, and it really does show. At the most basic, some of the level layouts have been tweaked, but at the more extreme there's entirely new levels, like having to climb the falling tree to get to one of the bosses. They even added some new effects onto some of the levels, like this rotation effect on the back of the Diplodocus, or adding this dark cabin look to one of the later levels. The Master System edition seems to follow the Amiga far more closely, just with a lot less colours, but it's still actually really nice looking for an 8-bit machine. Amazingly, the Game Gear version isn't a straight port from the Master System as we've come to expect. They've actually done some additional work to make it fit onto the smaller screen, as well as tweaking the levels as well as some of the bosses to make them work better. Unfortunately, the CD editions didn't get quite the same level of love, with them mostly being based on the base game with an animated intro and, to be honest, much worse CD music added, though the Mega CD edition made use of some of the hardware scaling and rotation features, but you really have to look closely to find them. The environments that you play in are the same across all versions, just with some graphical variations. These all tend to be quite colourful and unique to the current level that you're on, and there's quite a range for you to explore. From starting off going through the caveman village, to traversing the monkey jungle, not to mention what looks and plays like a bit of a water park, complete with sharks that are just ready to kill you. And then you end up at the snowy peaks, where, I swear, is that guy flashing us? Ugh. There is always something new and fun to come across in each level. I've always been a fan of the art style and animation work that has been done on this game, with baddies having lots of personality, which leads to a few humorous moments where taking out foes that are trying to stop you, and a few that, well, you could say you could only get away with this in the 90s, such as this busty lady who uses her assets to attack Junior. There's something a little bit weird about trying to take out a baby with a dive bomb breast attack. Which is definitely odd, but not the oddest thing you'll find, which is this old lady who doesn't really actively attack you, just hurts you if you happen to touch. And if you're a monster, you can actually take her out, but doing so you leave a bunch of smaller babies just crying for their mother. And as you can imagine, the rest run the range of weird and wonderful. With these monsters and environmental hazards, you'll have to keep an eye out for the bottles of milk that will be scattered around, as these will top up your health or baby bottle if you will. But if Chuck Jr. runs out of milk, you'll lose a life but you don't die. He'll just throw a little tantrum on the spot and then you get to continue from where you left off. And this you'll probably see a number of times while you're dealing with the many bosses in the game, which are suitably large and very silly. One nice touch was that some of them would actually show damage, so you could tell when you'd taken half their health down. And while all the baddies are quite mean and want to kill you, I always felt a bit bad attacking the Diplodocus. He just looked so sad just before attacking you. Look at those puppy dog eyes. Now how can you attack that? Almost all the bosses share an effect that you would typically find in demos, and that was the use of balls to make up necks, tentacles and arms. It looks really cool in motion and gives a real weight to their movements. Amazingly, to tie in with the release of the game, there was a very short-lived comic made, which ran in a magazine called Lookin'. Now this is the final strip, and it's all a little bit weird. I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea why Chuck Rock is on a boat, or why it seems to be set in modern times. So far, this is the only page that I've managed to find, but I'll have to keep looking to see if there's more archived copies of the magazine. Like many of the games that I check out, you'll have to go searching the second-hand market if you want to find it, as there doesn't seem to be any re-releases, but the fact that it was on a range of platforms should make it easier to track one of them down. And there we have it, a great looking, a great sounding, as well as a great playing little game. And until next time, I've been the Goldfish, that was a baby that wasn't going to stop for nap time, and this was Goldfish on Games. Goodbye. Thank you for watching my video, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know what to do. But if you don't, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, all that fun stuff to show me that you did. because it would mean the world to me. So thank you very much. I'll see you next time.